Hello all, the Rational Skeptic here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the principles of introversion versus extroversion, the secrets behind the functions, and why nothing is ever as it seems. And I'll begin by saying, in reading Carl Jung's psychological types, I was able to discern a particular theme. This was that the author was preoccupied with juxtapositions between a varied intellectual production of individuals along the spectrums of I versus E, or introversion versus extroversion. He then tried to show, or he then tried to draw gradients along the sensational versus intuitive and the feeling versus thinking types. And to quote from a colleague of Carl Jung's, Fernand Jordan, um, we will see just how the world of opposites basically rule our lives. And to quote, in the less impassioned temperaments, that is the extrovert, the intellect predominates with an unusually large share in the shaping of life, whereas the affects, or feeling, claim the greater importance with the reflective or introverted temperament. From these lines, we can see a passage through to the statement that we are much more our opposite natures than we think. To the degree that one's personal unconscious rules most of their life is the degree through which the pinhole view of the dominant function encroaches as a sphere of influence. So, the larger you exists in everything that you are not. The Buddhists and Hindus do really have it right in this sense. Uh, or do they? According to Carl Jung, the esoteric religions display an introverted attitude in general, while the Christians display a characteristically extroverted attitude. Though, at bottom, all times undergo changes in which even the past relics of the religion are transformed into the prevailing archetype of the day, quietly building up in their own enclaves as the Hindu mystic starts to erupt and claim extroverted territory in a number of people affected by their philosophies. In contrast, the magnetic pull that the extroverted attitude has in general, amassing plenty and telling them to commune together in reverence to God, in fear of that which remains invisible and unseen. Since to this type, all that is seen and outside is already known unto them because they identify with reality. The inner self, or the subject, is foreign and therefore acquires the quality of a daemon. And to explain, a daemon is what Carl Jung used to refer to as the most unconscious part of a person's psychology. And so, the unconscious springs up a figure that is subject to the forces of ideas, one that can be shaken in the foundation of its being by a mere difference in fact. This being must be tamed and contained in relation to the supreme idea which rules it, which is, of course, God. The inner world manifesting as the ruler of the extroverted reality is seen all too clearly by observing the type. The mother is forever preoccupied with going to her social gatherings, to keeping busy and making sure the surroundings are well kept. She wakes up and rambles until she falls asleep. With this line of thought, we are dragged mostly to the conclusion that she is living in avoidance of the wider, quote unquote, unconscious reality. The space of ideas and subject. Going down further to function preference, as an extroverted feeler, we can say that she is being moved strongly by constrained logical principles. For example, perform this exercise with someone you identify or has been identified as an ESFJ. Ask him or her what their goals are in life. Ask them what they think about God. Ask them what they think should happen in a case where there are 4 loaves of bread to be shared amongst 5 people. What should we do? Not consciously referring to the process of figuring out what they think or believe about this, they will more likely state absolute implicit syllogisms while sounding matter of fact. It is their way of subjecting the subject to the will of what is real. In contrast, we have the introvert who is caught up in their musings of their own internal mechanisms. They reduce activity daily and are found conserving energy when looked at from the outside. But see exactly it is what they are doing. They are withdrawn to the extent which the world is encroaching upon them. The more material presented to these types, the more they will withdraw and extract these ideas. To give a juxtaposition to the ESFJ in the former example, I'll present you with the INTP. In the MBTI, they are known as dual pairs. The INTP will create more of a fantasy with the more they have around them, and to the extent what they find encroaching or pulling them to participate in the world. To this type, these varied phenomena have underlying principles which must be drawn and matched to reality. This is an important part because as much as the introverted thinking type is separated from the world, their reality is based upon proving the external reality to an extent. And so these ideas were mostly to get you to think about the types in relation to one another and how you can say that the introverted type, no matter what kind of introversion they're showing, is to an extent as a result of their environment's extroversion upon them. So whenever the material world encroaches upon the introvert, they then abstract these ideas and swell up their introverted world to make up for the disturbance and the force, so to speak. And vice versa for the extrovert. The more they are being pulled into their selves and to witness the subject, the more they will create in the world to compensate and match for the disturbance within. And yeah, that's the main idea of what I was getting at in this video. But yeah, I'll stop here. It was just meant to be a short video that covered that. Let me know what you think down in the comments. The Irrational Skeptic signing out. The Irrational Skeptic signing off.